Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Live Ones. I am Big Matt, your capper extraordinaire. The big story today: Week 4 of college football is in the books. We saw a couple of stunners, as always. North Carolina got humiliated, utterly humiliated by James Madison, who, before moving up to the Sun Belt, was a perennial FCS powerhouse. It's not as if this program didn't have any pedigree, but it's not UNC. It's not anywhere close to a power conference team. They humiliated the Tar Heels, put up 70 points on them in a game that finished at 70-50. But that doesn't tell the story. The game was over after the first quarter. JMU was up 53-21 at halftime. The entire second half was garbage time for North Carolina. JMU put their second stringers in to get some reps. What an absolute indictment of the Tar Heels defense, who we should have known something was up when they gave up over 300 yards through the air to Charlotte in week 1, who might be the weakest FBS program overall in the country. Meanwhile, number 7, Missouri, just barely survived a scare from Vanderbilt, who's showing that they're no basement-dwelling pushover this season like they normally are. The game went to overtime. Missouri only escaped because of a missed chip shot field goal, the classic close-in, missed college field goal coming from the right hash, kicking it at an odd angle. We've seen it hundreds of times. There's a great X account devoted to nothing but videos of it. Number 13, Kansas State got dominated by BYU. I don't consider that so much of an upset. BYU is 4-0 now with a couple of impressive wins on their resume. I'm sure you're going to see them ranked later today. And number 25, Texas A&M, the classic perennial underachievers that they are, just escaped Bowling Green in a game that came right down to the end. We won that play yesterday. Let me tell you, Bowling Green's going to make some serious noise in the MAC this year. They've really taken it to their Power 4 opponents so far this season. The White Sox are on watch today. They lost game number 119 to the Padres last night. They've tied the American League record for worst of all time with the infamous 2003 Detroit Tigers. One more loss to tie the 62 Mets, 2 more losses to break the record for the 162-game season. They cap off their series with the Padres today. They have 6 more games, a 3-game set against the Angels, who would be one of the worst teams in baseball if we weren't grading on a major curve this year. And then a 3-game set against the Tigers, who are definitely still in the hunt for the wild card, still have something to play for with the Royals and the Twins both dropping off. I think it's a certainty the record gets broken. The question is just by how much. We had one of our best days in a long while yesterday. Went a perfect 6-0 in our plays. Just had the rain out in the Twins Red Sox game to cancel that play. We're back to positive on the week. It's NFL Week 3 Sunday today. We've got football and baseball to go over. We're going to finish out the week strong. Let's get to it. And we're going to start off with the Bucks and Broncos. You know, if you watched this show the past couple of years, you know I have a very different philosophy capping NFL games than college. You have to. They're 2 entirely different universes. I tend to shy away from a lot of sides and spreads in the NFL. This league is absolutely obsessed with its parity, with making sure fans of every franchise always think they could be a championship contender in 2 or 3 years, that no fan base ever checks out, that everyone stays engaged. And you can see that reflected on the field in that 90% of NFL games are decided by a touchdown or less, which means 90% of the NFL games are decided by penalties and turnovers ultimately. So I actually hate that as a fan, but that's how it is. I play way more totals in the NFL than spreads. A spread pretty much has to be a no-brainer for me in order to be interested. This one's a no-brainer. Denver has scored just 1 touchdown through 2 games this season and is averaging just 13 points a game. How general manager George Paton wasn't shown the door after the absolute debacle of the Russell Wilson trade and extension, I have no earthly idea. The franchise is in absolute shambles and is not going to get better for a long time. They're in the bottom 5 of the NFL in both offensive and defensive DVOA. That's defense adjusted value over average. It's an advanced analytic number nerd stuff, but it's actually extremely predictive when considering offensive and defensive matchups. Bo Nix is just not ready to play in the NFL. He needed to sit for a year and learn the game, learn to lead his receivers and throw the ball where only they were going to be able to catch it, and he hasn't. Meanwhile, Tampa has been handling their business. Baker Mayfield looks like $1 million out there. The Bucs went into Ford's Field and got a big win against the Lions last week. And while for a lot of teams this might be a letdown spot after that, it's the Broncos. You're getting the Bucs at under a touchdown. I'm taking it. Give me Tampa Bay -6. Speaking of totals in the NFL, we have a game today where the total is as live as it can get for me. The Colts and the Bears. I went on record on draft night saying that Caleb Williams would be one of the biggest busts in NFL history. I stand by it, and it's entirely an attitude thing for me. The things that he put out his senior year, like he wanted to have an ownership stake in whenever NFL team drafted him, that he'd refuse to play for certain teams if they drafted him. Meanwhile, he never played against any kind of a defense when he was at Oklahoma. The Big 12 is famously a defense optional conference. He never showed me the heart to come through in the big spots after he transferred to USC. He just seemed like he was going to be an uncoachable wreck with a massively inflated opinion of his own talent, completely unwilling to learn. And when C.J. Stroud met him midfield last week after the Texans beat them, but C.J. Stroud's one of the best rookie quarterback success stories of the last decade, and tried to give him some advice, and Williams blew him right off. That opinion was just solidified with me. I don't think Williams thinks there's a single problem with how he's playing so far and that he needs to do anything to improve. So I don't think this Bears offense, which is 31st in the league in terms of yards per game so far, is going to do very much against this very capable Colts defense. And I think the Colts, clearly Anthony Richardson still has some development he needs to make. He's only completing 49% of his passes, and he has 4 picks in his first 2 games. What's he going to do against this absolute monster of a Bears defense, which single-handedly was responsible for the Bears' win in Week 1? Do I think the ceiling on both of these quarterbacks and both of these offenses for both of these teams is higher than it is now? Absolutely. But they're not going to get everything solved in 1 week. So give me the Colts and the Bears under 44 points today. 49ers and the Rams. How much more injured could these two teams be? Christian McCaffrey's already on IR with Achilles tendonitis. Deebo Samuel's been ruled out with a calf injury. Javarius Ward and George Kittle are both doubtful, and that's just the playmakers that the 49ers are missing. The Rams are missing more than half of their starting offense. Most notably, Matt Stafford's favorite target, Cooper Kupp, and second-year tight end, Davis Allen. Points are going to be coming in at an absolute premium today, especially on the Rams side. Give me the under 43.5 in this game today. Over to baseball, and while I'll usually ignore games in the last week of the regular season featuring 2 teams with nothing to play for, we do have 2 really good pitchers on the mound today, and a total that I feel is really inflated by virtue of the ballpark that it's in. Paul Skeens and Hunter Green are as good as they come at going really deep into games and keeping runs off the board. Skeens has been completely lights out all year, and he's kept it alive down the stretch, even as his teams faded out of their early postseason hopes. He's got an inhuman 1.29 ERA and a 1.13 whip his last 5 starts. I know he's going to flame out like every fireballing rookie that throws triple digits on every fastball eventually does, but it's not likely to be today. Hunter Green has been equally lights out with an even better 1.09 ERA and 0.71 whip in his last 5. The man is just untouchable and has been all season. The total today is 8, and that's only because outside of Coors Field, the Great American Ballpark has been the most homer-friendly park in baseball this year. I just trust both of these starters too much to think it even matters today. Give me the under 8 runs in this matchup. Finally, the Royals and the Giants. I have no idea how the Royals have fallen off so badly at the end of the year here, but fallen off they have. Them and the Twins both. It's almost like being in the same division as the worst baseball team of all time inflates your season performance a bit. The Royals have lost 6 straight. They've gone 7-14 since August 27th. They're in very serious danger of falling out of the wild card, and they have the worst possible Giants pitcher on the mound to try and get right against in Blake Snell. Snell has really turned it on down the stretch, posting a 4-0 record with a 1.33 ERA over his last 13 starts. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to sustain a 1.33 ERA over 13 starts? He's had 105 strikeouts in 74 1/3 innings. This guy was the Cy Young Award winner last year for a very good reason, and his last performance, he's still absolutely killing it. He struck out 12 and allowed just 1 hit over 6 scoreless innings against the Orioles, who have a great lineup. He's absolutely on fire. There's no way I'm standing in front of the trends between him and the Royals. Overall, give me the Giants on the money line today. 5th and final play. Everyone bet safe, stay safe. Follow us on X at Live One Sports. Check us out on Roku and Fire TV at the Live Ones. Have yourselves a great Sunday, and I will see you next time.